If you notice, our previous discussion only talks about motion in one dimension. So that is why one-dimensional motion. All our problems involve direction na one dimension lang, to the right or to the left yung direction natin. So that is why one-dimensional motion. Or it could also be upwards or downwards. Tama? So if the motion is upwards or downwards, in which the force acting on that object is the force due to gravity alone, ang tawag natin dyan, free fall. Ayan, free fall. The force acting on that object is gravity alone. So upwards, downwards. So one dimension lang din. That is why it is known rectilinear motion, line along a straight line. So doon tayo nag-end sa ating discussion. We have already discussed na kapag kinematics yung pinag-uusapan natin, we have four equations. Tama? The first equation is dealing with constant motion or constant velocity. Displacement is equal to velocity times time. Take note, this is for constant motion or constant velocity. Follow? Now, if we have uniformly accelerated motion, ibig sabihin kapag mayroong acceleration. Do you follow? Kapag mayroong acceleration, even if it is an acceleration due to gravity. Okay? So meron tayong tatlong equations. For a second equation natin, we have acceleration is equal to final velocity minus initial velocity divided by time. And then the third equation, we have 2 times acceleration times displacement is equal to final velocity squared minus the initial velocity squared. And then the last equation, we have the displacement is equal to initial velocity times time plus 1/2 acceleration times time squared. These three equations will be used when we are dealing with acceleration. Alam niyo na, di ba, kung anong ibig sabihin ng acceleration? Acceleration means there is a change in velocity. Yun lang naman, change in velocity. In velocity yan. Dito, constant ang velocity. Follow? So if we have a change in velocity, if our object is accelerating, so itong tatlo yung gagamitin natin na equation. Even if it is an acceleration due to gravity, as long as we have a constantly accelerated motion. Dito sa first equation, we have constant velocity. So ito yung gagamitin natin na equation. Nakuha? So again, last time, our discussion talks about free fall motion. It is a type of motion in which our object is thrown upwards, vertically upwards, or vertically downwards. Now, what if instead of being thrown vertically upwards or vertically downwards, our object is being projected into the air at an angle? Okay? It is projected into the air at a particular angle theta, in which theta is not equal to 90 degrees. Nakuha? Again, theta is not equal to 90 degrees. Bakit, sir, not equal? Kasi kapag equal to 90 degrees yan with respect to the horizon, 90 degrees with respect to the horizon, then that will be straight upwards. Do you follow? Or 90 degrees with respect to the horizon, that would be straight downwards. So kapag ka 90 degrees, ibig sabihin, we are talking about free fall. Nakuha? So what if our object is being projected into the air in which the angle by which it is launched is not equal to 90 degrees? Let's say, for example, the angle is 60 degrees. For example lang ha, angle is 60 degrees with respect to the horizon. So ano mangyayari sa object natin? Our object will be projected into the air. Kagaya ng soccer ball, it is projected into the air. It will follow a path. Ayan, it will follow a path. And that path is a parabola. Follow? So the ball or the object goes up. And then, of course, the object will go down. That is straightforward. Nakuha? And the path na i-follow ng ating object is a parabola. Hindi kagaya nung sa free fall na straight line, kaya nga rectilinear, straight line. Sa projectile motion, the path is a parabolic path. And that is known as the trajectory. Ang tawag natin sa path na yan, trajectory. Naku ha, I understand or I know na familiar na kayo sa parabola, tama? Because that was discussed in your grade 11. Di ba? Na-discuss niyo how to draw a parabola. And kailan ba natin mai-encounter ang parabola? Anong klaseng equation ang magbibigay sa atin ng parabola? Sige nga, anong equation ang magbibigay sa atin ng parabolic path or parabolic graph? Yes, Juliana, kindly share your answer to the class.
Hello, sir. Good morning
Yes.
po.
Good morning.
The equation would be a quadratic equation, sir, because there are two values of x. So, nag-form siya ng parabola if i-connect po yung dalawang values.
Ayun, very good. At paano natin malalaman if our equation is quadratic, Juliana? Ano yung key para malaman natin na quadratic ang equation na yan?
Ang highest power niya po, sir, is to the power of 2 po.
To the power of 2 or square. Very good. So in our equations, if you notice, sa equations natin, meron tayong two equations na quadratic. Do you follow? So specifically, if we are going to graph the displacement with respect to time, ito, displacement with respect to time, we have a quadratic equation. That is why the path which will be taken by our object as it undergoes projectile motion is a parabolic path, parabola. Kasi nga, meron tayong quadratic equation. Quadratic equation describes the path which will be taken by our object. Ako ha? Ayan. So for this morning, ito yung mga objectives natin. We are going to discuss about the independence of vertical and horizontal components of motion. So ibig sabihin, since we are talking about projectile motion, we are going to get the vertical component, okay, and the horizontal component of our motion. So ibig sabihin, we have a two-dimensional motion. Follow? Two-dimensional motion. Hindi kagaya ng previous discussion natin na one-dimensional motion lang tayo. Up, down, left, right. Yun lang yung direction natin. But when we talk about projectile motion, we will be solving for the vertical component and the horizontal components of our motion. So for example, if we have a velocity, ibig sabihin that velocity has a horizontal component Vx, and it also has a vertical component Vy. Diba? Remember our discussion on vectors, horizontal component and vertical component. If we have displacement, kapag meron tayong displacement, then we can get the vertical component. Wait lang ha. Yeah. We can get the horizontal component d sub x and also the vertical component d sub y. That is what we mean by vertical and horizontal components of the projectile motion. Claro? Ayun. So if ever we have Vx, which is equal to 3 meters per second, and we have Vy, which is equal to 4 meters per second, how are we going to get the resultant? Ayan. Paano natin kukunin yung velocity na resultant? Remember our discussion in vectors. Paano natin kukunin ngayon yung resultant natin given the horizontal component and the vertical component? Paano natin kukunin yung magnitude? Nag-chat na. Ayun, very good. So ano yun, Kyrie? Kindly share your answer sa class.
Good morning po, sir.
Good
Para
morning.
makuha po yung resultant, gamitin po yung Pythagorean theorem po.
Okay, very good. So that is just, so if you are going to get the resultant velocity, that is just square root of Vx squared plus Vy squared. So ganun lang, di ba? Same with our discussion on vectors. If you're going to get the resultant displacement, just take the square root of d sub x and d sub y. So ganun lang. Again, it is a two-dimensional motion. Then for our second objective, we are going to calculate the range, time of flight, velocity, and maximum heights of the projectile. So problem solving. More on problem solving. Dapat alam nyo ano ang formula ng range. Dapat alam nyo ano ang formula ng time of flight. Dapat alam nyo paano kukunin ang velocity. At dapat alam nyo paano kukunin ang maximum heights. Usually in the problem solving, yun yung apat na variables na ating yung hinahanap most of the time. Okay, so let us analyze the parabolic path, the trajectory of our projectile motion. For example, if we have an object, ito, and this object is projected into the air at a particular angle theta. For example, meron tayong angle dito na theta, wala na lang value. Other than 90 degrees. Again, theta is not equal to 90 degrees with respect to the horizontal. Kasi kapag 90 degrees yan, free fall na yan. Hindi na yan projectile motion. Again, we have a ball and that ball is being projected into the air at a particular angle other than 90 degrees. So ano yung mangyayari sa bola natin? Of course, that ball will be projected into the air. Aabot siya dito na path. So, aabot siya dito sa highest point. And then, bababa yung bola. Tama? Until such time na it will reach the ground. And that's the path which will be taken by our projectile. Projectile is the object. Nakuha? Ayun. So for example, if we have an initial velocity dito. Dito meron tayong initial velocity. Dito din meron din tayong velocity. Of course, hindi na siya initial velocity. Dito meron din tayong velocity. Dito meron din tayong velocity. And dito meron din tayong velocity. So how are we going to analyze this motion? Again, we have an object projected into the air at a certain angle given the initial velocity. So ibig sabihin, since we are talking about projectile motion, we have the what? We have the horizontal component, Vix, follow? And we also have the vertical component, Viy. Anong kulay? Violet na lang. Viy. Nakuha? At any point in the trajectory. So dito banda sa taas, we also have the same. We have the horizontal component, Vx. And then we also have the vertical component, Vy. Good. Dito sa pinakataas, the same. We have the horizontal component Vx. And then if you notice, mayroon ba tayong vertical component? Wala tayong vertical component, tama? Kasi at the highest point, remember our discussion on free fall. At the highest point, what is the velocity along the y, di ba? It is 0, tama? So our vertical component is 0 meters per second at the highest point. Nakuha? Okay. And then dito the same, meron tayong vertical component Vy, and then meron din tayong horizontal component Vx. The same dito, meron tayong horizontal component Vx, and then meron din tayong vertical component na Vy. Nakuha? In which, according kanina kay Kyrie, at any point, the velocity, at any point in the projectile, the velocity is just the square root of Vx squared plus Vy squared. Tama? Okay, now, analyze natin yung mga components. We have the horizontal component and we have the vertical component. Independent sila. So, ibig sabihin, ang pag-analyze natin sa kanila, separate. Separate yung pag-analyze natin. Wala silang pake sa isa't isa. So let's analyze the horizontal component of our motion. Accordingly, the horizontal component is a constant motion. Ano ang ibig sabihin ng constant motion? Kapag narinig natin ang constant motion, ano yung dapat papasok sa isip natin? Constant motion means constant ang what? Constant ang? Constant? Ayun, may nag-chat na. Yes, Athena, kindly share your answer.
Ano po, sir? If constant motion, constant velocity po.
Okay, very good. Constant ang velocity. If ever constant ang velocity, Athena, what will be our acceleration?
0 po, sir.
Ayun, 0 meters per second squared if ever constant ang velocity. So, ibig sabihin, yung horizontal component natin, constant ang velocity. So, for example, if our velocity initial along the x is 5 meters per second, ano yung velocity natin dito sa kabila, Nicole, Elise? Dito, ano yung velocity natin sa x?
Ano po, same lang po.
Same, 5
Saan?
meters per second. Dito?
5 meters per,
Ayun,
5 meters
okay,
per
very good.
second po.
So 5 meters per second. The motion is constant. The velocity is constant. 5 meters per second. Nakuha? Ayun. So, yun ang ibig sabihin ng constant motion. Yun yung description natin sa horizontal component. So remember, we have 4 equations. We have the first equation, d is equal to velocity times time. The second equation, we have acceleration is equal to final velocity minus initial velocity over time. The third equation, we have 2AD is equal to VF squared minus VI squared. And then the fourth equation, the last equation is D is equal to VIT plus 1/2 AT squared. So if our horizontal component is constant motion, constant velocity, anong equation ang gagamitan natin dito sa apat? Is it equation 1, equation 2, equation 3, equation 4?
Sa ano po, sa constant motion po, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yung una na equation po.
Okay, very good. Una na equation. Equation number 1. D is equal to velocity times time. Nakuha? Pero para malaman natin na that is referring to the horizontal component, lagyan lang natin ng x. X, and then x. So yun lang yung nadagdag sa equations natin. However, we all know that the velocity along the x is always constant. Tama, no? The velocity along the x is always constant. Constant yan siya. So, ibig sabihin, this is also equal to VIX times time. Yan. Pareho lang yan. They are always constant. Now, how about sa free fall motion? Balik tayo dito sa, punta tayo dito sa free fall motion, sa right side ng screen. Tingin dito. Dito banda. The y component. Sa y component, the description of motion is free fall. So yung discussion natin sa free fall. So kapag pinag-uusapan natin free fall, ano yung dapat maiisip natin kapag free fall? Alam natin na kapag free fall, it is accelerated. Tama? Meron tayong acceleration kapag free fall. And what is our acceleration when we are dealing with free fall motion? Ano yung acceleration natin? Kindly share your answer to the class fits.
Ano sir, yung acceleration ng gravity sir? Ano sir, negative 9.81 meter per second squared.
Ayan. Per second squared. So ganun lang. So ibig sabihin, for the vertical component, we have uniformly accelerated motion. And that acceleration is the acceleration due to gravity. So ibig sabihin, sa tatlong equations, sa apat na equations, itong tatlo yung gagamitin natin. Kasi nga, acceleration, ito lang naman yung tatlong equation for acceleration. Nakuha? So, ayun. So, sulat natin dito. Sulat natin dito yung second equation, which is acceleration. So, i-change natin into G is equal to VF minus VI over time. Ayan. So para malaman natin na that is referring to the vertical component, lagyan lang natin ng Y. VFY and then VIY. Okay, sir, ang gravity, hindi natin lagyan ng Y. Hindi na kasi gravity is constant. Sir, how about time, sir? Hindi natin lagyan ng time. Hindi na because time is a scalar quantity. Hindi naman siya vector quantity. Scalar ang time. And it is the same time dito. Pareho lang yan sila na time. Same time, same time. So wala, hindi na kailangan lagyan ng X at saka Y. And then kailangan din natin yung third equation. That's 2G D is equal to VF squared minus VI squared. So lagyan lang natin ng Y. dy, VFY, and then VIY. Ayun, questions? Wala? Wala pa so far. And then fourth, gamitin natin yung fourth equation. We have D is equal to VIT plus 1/2 GT squared. So lagyan lang natin ng Y, dy and then VIY. Yung time hindi nalagyan ng Y at yung acceleration due to gravity. So pareho lang. Pareho lang actually yung discussion natin before. Ang kaibahan lang, we are now talking about two-dimensional. Meron lang tayong X, meron lang tayong Y. Very good? So, if you notice, meron tayo always VIX. Look at the graph dito. VIX. Meron din tayong VIY. How are we going to get VIX? Look at the triangle. The right triangle. Diba? Naka-form tayo ng right triangle. So, ibig sabihin trigonometric function. Ano yung gagamitin natin na trigonometric function in order to solve for the horizontal component? Is it the sine or the cosine? If you notice, the horizontal component is adjacent. So, kapag adjacent side, ano yung gagamitin natin? Diba? Napaka, straightforward. Cosine. Very good. So, it's cosine. Cosine theta VI. Diba? Dito sa kabila, sine theta. VIY is sine theta VI. So, ganun lang. Questions so far? Ang dami ng mga variables, no? The same pa rin dito. Dito sa si VY dito, sine theta. Dito, si VY sine theta. Dito si VX cosine theta. So always horizontal component cosine, vertical component sine because by convention ang theta natin is with respect to the horizon.